Hello everyone, and welcome to this Professional Education Byte, where we will be showing you how to correctly use generative AI to help you as teachers, and also to show your students how to use it correctly and in an ethical manner. My name is Alex, and today I'm joined by Ben, Liv, and Alara as we assist you in familiarising yourself with AI.
Alrighty, into the background. Now, what is generative AI? Although AI has been around for some time in the forms of chatbots and AI assistants, generative AI, such as ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot, emerged between November 2022 to March 2023. Using machine learning, AI breaks down the prompt given to it and pulls information from the internet to answer the prompt. The thing that makes AI different from tools such as search engines like Google is that AI can customize how the answer to a prompt is provided. Gen AI can also save or remember previous requests and can build upon them for specific information. Now, why the change? Gen AI's ability to draw upon information and reword information is specifically important to education. Gen AI has the potential to provide students with different language backgrounds the opportunity to access information that may have been previously unavailable due to confusing language. For example, the Middle English used in Shakespeare can hinder the progress of students whose English is a second language. But it can be mitigated as Gen AI can reword quotes that display themes or symbolisms to better explain their meaning. Gen AI also is available 24/7 and is not reliant on anyone. Gen AI can also be tasked with pulling specific sources, providing insightful information in brainstorms, and assist in editing the wording of assessments. Overall, Gen AI provides unique and exciting opportunities to make education more accessible to students. Now, how to structure a prompt. On the screen is a breakdown of a prompt that can be given to Gen AI. Requests must be specific enough to ensure the information has a higher chance of being correct. Within the prompt, provide a topic and what you would like the AI to do with your topic to generate accurate results. Although AI can be used to complete assessment tasks and write essays, it must be stressed that AI usage in schools must be to assist in the process of learning or brainstorming, not to complete tasks. Drawbacks, drawbacks, drawbacks. Now onto the drawbacks. Although Gen AI has the potential to be a tool that enriches student learning, there are drawbacks to its usage. For example, AI is not perfect. It can draw upon incorrect information, draw from unreliable sources, or, if it's not used with the proper protocol, can hinder learning in the classroom and stunt critical thinking skills. For example, within an English classroom, a student could use Gen AI to an over-reliant extent to summarize the themes and symbolism within a book rather than understand it on their own. Solutions to these drawbacks mainly involve both teachers and students understanding good protocol when using Gen AI. The usage of fact-checking and source analysis skills can also boost the effectiveness of AI usage and resolve the drawbacks of unreliable information. Teachers monitoring the usage of AI in classrooms, along with students being taught to only use AI for their creative process, can also be effective for resolving the previous drawbacks. Although students can misuse AI, it is accepted that its prevalence in education is everywhere and should be embraced. Now to referencing. Although unlike any other source referenced previously, Gen AI must be referenced if it was used to help produce your work. Academic integrity is still very important when working with AI. On the screen are examples of the APA 7th edition in-text and bibliography reference examples. Sites such as the American Psychological Association or the University of Queensland are great organizations that provide examples on how to reference AI.
This is Olivia. Just apologies in advance for this section. I've lost my voice. Using generative AI as both pre-service and graduate teachers can help ease the workload that comes with this career, assist in time management, and provide additional learning opportunities for students. This continuous engagement with ICT advancements and the ethical considerations for its use is critical, as to ensure you are engaging with the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers, or APSTs. By implementing generative AI in your teaching and planning, you're able to target multiple APSTs relevant to ICT use as a graduate teacher. The first standard is 2.6. Implement teaching strategies for using ICT to expand curriculum learning opportunities for students. Secondly, standard 3.4. Demonstrate knowledge of a range of resources, including ICT, that engages students in their learning. Thirdly, standard 3.6. Demonstrate broad knowledge of strategies that can be used to evaluate teaching programs to improve student learning. And finally, standard 4.5. Demonstrate an understanding of the relevant issues and the strategies available to support the safe, responsible, and ethical use of ICT in learning and teaching. Generative AI can also assist your classroom when focusing on the general capabilities and cross-curriculum priorities outlined by the Australian Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Authority, or ACARA. 2 of the 7 general capabilities are especially relevant to this topic. The first of which is ICT capabilities, which involves ensuring your students are aware of and can use modern technology advancements to advance their learning capabilities. The second is critical and creative thinking, which is your students' ability to develop questions, find and construct answers, question the information they find. So how can you actually utilize generative AI to benefit your role as a teacher? The first method of use is developing ways of re-explaining concepts to students who may struggle to grasp it. I'm sure many of us have seen or experienced a moment where simply repeating the lesson or changing learning styles isn't effective in helping your students. This is where generative AI comes in. By attaching the learning area and ACARA content descriptors, you can generate infinite ways of explaining it to your students. This not only saves your time in the classroom, but can also prevent your student from feeling self-doubt and frustration with the topic. However, it's important not to use generative AI as your initial method of explaining. Not only do you need to ensure your own understanding without the assistance of AI, but you also need to ensure continuity of learning style. Generative AI doesn't have a connection with your students or understand how they learn. You do. It's also important to fact-check the information before relaying it to your students. Generative AI is useful, but it's not perfect, and is largely still in development. This means that it can often get information wrong, particularly in STEM classrooms. The second method is to utilize generative AI to create your unit plans. By inputting the ACARA content descriptors you need to achieve, the number of lessons per week, and the time you want per topic, generative AI can create an easy-to-read and time-efficient unit plan that suits your classroom needs. It's important to note that generative AI can be used to assist the process of developing the unit plan, not take the entire workload. Generative AI is not present and doesn't know where students may need additional time for learning. It's up to you to identify and change the unit plan. Generative AI simply creates the basic layout of the unit. It's up to you to change it based on your students' learning needs. Through this process, you're able to save time sorting through and designating every lesson to a particular topic. Instead, you only need to rearrange a few lessons based on learning time and shorten the duration of this teaching preparation task significantly. While generative AI does have major benefits for your students' learning, it does have damaging effects on the environment, producing toxic chemical waste, water pollution, and high carbon emissions. It's important to note that generative AI should be used minimally to simply aid you in small areas of your teaching. It should not be used for the entirety of your workload.
Let's quickly run through an example for using Gen AI to re-explain a topic. For this example, we'll be using a program called ChatGPT. You'll need the content descriptor from the ACARA, the learning area, year level, and aspect that the student finds challenging. Pause the video here to grab these resources. When you gotta go, you gotta go. We'll demonstrate first how to produce a result, and then you can have a go. First, go to your web browser and type in chatgpt.com. From here, go to the Ask Anything bar located in the center of your screen. We want to follow a concise format for our request. For our example, we'll be doing Year 7 Science, focusing on positions of the Earth, Sun, and Moon, and the impact of seasons and tides. So we'll say, please generate a short 100-word statement for the ACARA descriptor AC97SU03 to give to a Year 7 student in science. Explain in depth the impact of tides and seasons as the student struggles here. And here you can see it gives an appropriate explanation. However, if this result doesn't suit your student's needs, you can request to have it run again. Pause the video here to have a go yourself within your own teaching area.
Next up, student implementation and use. Before we run over some practical examples of strategically using Gen AI directly with your students, first we have some general tips that all teachers across subject areas and grade levels should keep in mind. Firstly, before introducing Gen AI to your classroom, you must discuss the ethics with your students and be completely honest about its pros and cons. Not even experts in the field have come to a common consensus on how to approach the use of Gen AI in schools, and your school may or may not already have a detailed policy monitoring it. Make sure your students have the ins and outs of intellectual property and plagiarism under control before ever opening the program. Secondly, set clear expectations for your students each lesson. If your students don't have a complete understanding of what they can and can't ask a Gen AI program during a task, they are much more likely to use this technology in ways that are inappropriate, irresponsible, or just not useful. This should be reflected in direct instruction during classroom activities, as well as your grading and criteria when it comes to formal assessment. Lastly, and most importantly, when planning activities, we should focus on the process, not the final product. The Queensland curriculum uses pages worth of cognitive verbs, like analysing, critiquing, and evaluating, to represent key academic competencies that students need to master during their schooling. As educators, we must design learning activities where students use AI as a tool to practice these skills until they can use them independently, rather than generating a finished product and skipping the learning process. Now, some strategies. Generally, when students choose to use generative AI to assist them with schoolwork, it falls under one of two categories: gathering information and constructing texts. For gathering information, try research interrogation. Gen AI has a reputation for generating false research, especially when it comes to referencing. But when used as a jumping off point rather than a final product, Gen AI can be an effective research partner, especially for high school students who may not have access to the same resources as those in academia. Let's say your student asks the Gen AI program to find 3 sources on the Library of Alexandria and give a brief summary and reference for each. The student can now interrogate the AI on the finer details of each summary, cross-checking with the original source and getting further detail until they have an accurate, useful summary. In this process, students will not only be developing their own questioning and investigating skills, but will end up with a deeper understanding of the content than they would have gotten by simply skimming a research article without wasting time on the manual labor. For constructing texts, try text analysis and critique. When constructing text across the subject areas, students not only need to consider basic writing conventions like spelling and grammar, but also discipline-specific text elements like style, layout, and vocabulary that are relevant across the Queensland curriculum. As an activity, students could ask a Gen AI program to rewrite a small segment of text in various styles, such as persuasive article, narrative poetry, or an informative paragraph. Then, students can identify and analyze the differences between these genres. Alternatively, students could generate a poorly constructed paragraph and then critique and revise it to fix grammar and spelling mistakes and more accurately match discipline conventions. This is an effective way for students to develop their own understanding of how to construct a well-written text, giving them the competency and confidence to write their own for other activities or assessment. Let's run through another example of the research interrogation strategy. You can use ChatGPT again, or choose another Gen AI program that you've seen before. Firstly, choose a topic relevant to your teaching area that you might want to research. Then, plug into your program what you see here on the screen. Find 3 sources on the insert and give a brief summary and reference for each. You can pause the video here to do that. Awesome. Now that you've got these summaries, choose one of them and ask the program some more questions about the finer details to check its understanding. For example, can you tell me more about blah, 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 blah. Lastly, open the source and briefly compare it to the summary. How similar are they? Was the summary effective, or would you need to conduct further research?
Ultimately, generative AI is a new tool with incredible applications in an educational setting. From its accessibility for diverse learners to the capabilities for research assistants, it would be backwards to reject this incredible development. Whilst it runs the risk of inaccurate information, reduced critical thinking skills, plagiarism concerns, as long as students do not become over-reliant and continue to fact-check, follow ethical use protocol, and only use it to assist the learning process, then it will become a tool that can reduce the workload of both the students and teacher.
On the screen now are several examples of generative AI that you, as a teacher, may come across. AI has already been in the classrooms for a few years now, and managing its use is more important than ever. In August of 2025, the Queensland Government officially released Corella, a government-operated learning generative AI that has limitations and guidelines put in place so that it's appropriate for students and also draws its knowledge from the current curriculum and QCAA standards. With this level of AI being rolled out into all state schools by the start of 2026, it becomes a matter of utmost importance that every teacher knows what it is and how to use it correctly.
Thank you for your attention over the course of this Byte, and we all hope you have learned something new.